At brunch, my girlfriend told her friends I was just her backup if her ex didn't work out. Thought I couldn't hear her. I walked over, said, "I'm nobody's backup," and left. She called 35 times while I was already on a date with someone who actually wanted me. I was standing on the sidewalk outside Harbor and Hearth in downtown Savannah, Georgia, frozen in place like someone had just slammed a fist into my chest. I hadn't planned on being there. My buddy canceled on our usual Sunday pickup game, so I figured I'd surprise my girlfriend, Lena, who was having brunch with her friends. Maybe grab coffee afterward. Maybe be cute, be thoughtful. Stupid, I know. But at the time I thought that was what good boyfriends did. Then I heard her voice. Loud, clear, sharp enough to cut. Her friend asked, "So, you and Jake getting serious or what?" And Lena, my Lena, laughed in that smug, "I'm performing for my friends," way she used when she wanted to sound clever. "Jake's great. Honestly, he's like perfect on paper. But he's my backup plan if Mark doesn't come back to me." The whole table burst into giggles. Backup plan. Like I was a spare tire she kept in her trunk. "Mark's moving back in a few months," she went on. "We've been talking again. Why give up a comfortable situation while I wait?" I stopped breathing. No exaggeration. My lungs just refused to work. I felt heat rise in my face. Not anger exactly, but something colder, heavier. A kind of clarity that made everything in my life suddenly look different. I walked straight across the street toward them. I didn't even feel my feet hitting the pavement. Lena saw me first. Her smile died instantly. Her face went ghost white like she'd seen someone crawl out of a grave. "Jake, oh my God. What are you doing here?" I didn't look at her friends. I didn't look anywhere except right into her eyes. "I came to surprise you," I said. My voice sounded strange. Too calm. Wrong calm. And instead I heard everything. Her friends went stiff. One swallowed hard. "Jake, I didn't mean..." "Don't," I said. "Save it. I'm nobody's backup plan. Not yours. Not anyone's." She blinked fast, panicking. "Wait, no, baby, please. Let's talk." "No. You made it clear who you're waiting for. So you won't be waiting in my home." And I left. I didn't run. I didn't yell. I just turned and walked away while she called my name over and over. Her voice cracked, but I didn't look back. My hands were shaking by the time I reached my car. I still felt like I was watching myself from a distance. Like my life had suddenly split into a before and after, and I hadn't caught up yet. I drove home. 10 minutes that felt like one slow, endless breath. And by the time I parked, my phone was blowing up. Calls, texts, voicemails, all from her, all ignored. I went straight inside, made coffee because I needed something solid to hold, then opened my laptop. If she thought I was going to sit in my living room and cry about her backup plan nonsense, she didn't know me at all. I logged her out of everything: Wi-Fi, Netflix, Hulu, my Spotify, my shared calendar, every account she used because I paid for it. Then I changed every password. Next, I wrote down what I heard. Word for word. Names, time, everything. Not because I planned to use it legally, but because clarity sometimes demands documentation. Then I texted her one single message. "You have until Wednesday to get your things. After that, the locks change." When she called again, I declined it. Because this wasn't a fight. This was a line in the sand. And she'd crossed it long before I heard her say a word. If you'd told me a year earlier that I'd be standing in my condo staring at a phone full of missed calls from a woman who just called me her backup plan, I would have laughed. Not because I thought Lena was perfect, she wasn't. But because I genuinely believed we were solid. Steady. Building something. But that's the problem with trust. You don't realize it's rotting until the whole thing collapses. I met Lena at the business park where I work in software. She worked in marketing in the next building over, always walking around with that confident bounce like she owned every hallway she stepped into. One day, we ended up waiting out a thunderstorm under the same awning. She joked about her hair frizzing, I joked about mine not existing at all, and for some reason that stupid conversation stuck. We started getting lunch weekly, then bi-weekly, then dinner. Then, before either of us said the word relationship, She was spending almost every night at my place. 6 months later, she officially moved into my condo in Midtown Savannah. It wasn't some big romantic gesture. Her lease ended, and moving in just made sense. She paid part of the utilities, split groceries with me, and kept half her clothes in the second bedroom like she thought having a designated storage space made the whole thing balanced. I cared about her. God, that's the part that stings the most now. I cared enough to ignore the signs. The late-night texting she claimed was a friend going through a breakup. The phone flipped over whenever I walked into the room. The sudden interest in working late. The way she always hesitated before calling me her boyfriend in front of people. I'd feel a twinge in my gut sometimes. Like something was off, but I'd tell myself I was overthinking. I'd been cheated on before, and I didn't want to drag old wounds into something new. I didn't want to be paranoid. But hindsight is cruel. A month before that brunch, she started acting different. Not exactly distant, but distracted. Restless. She'd stare at her phone like waiting for a message that didn't come. She'd ask me weird questions like, if an ex comes back into your life, do you think you owe them closure? Or, do you believe people can love two people at once? I thought she was just processing old hurt. Turns out she was rehearsing. I didn't know about Mark, the ghost she'd been orbiting for over a year. I didn't know they were texting almost daily. I didn't know she'd been telling her friends she was keeping her options open until he moved back. And the part that kills me? I had said, more than once, if you're ever unhappy, just tell me. I'll listen. But she didn't want honesty. She wanted convenience. She once told me she loved how stable I was. Predictable, she said. Like it was a compliment. Like I was a safe landing spot she could count on if her risky dreams didn't pan out. There were days I thought about proposing. There were nights I imagined a future with her. Kids, holidays, quiet routines, and she was texting another man the whole time. I didn't know any of that on that Sunday morning. I didn't know I was about to walk into the most humiliating moment of my life. All I knew was that I wanted to surprise my girlfriend with coffee. Instead, I surprised myself with the truth. And the truth had teeth. The calls didn't stop. If anything, they multiplied. Lena alternating between crying voicemails and angry texts like she was flipping through emotional presets trying to find one that would pull me back in. By Monday morning, I had 37 missed calls. By Monday night, 54. But the silence inside my condo felt calm, almost eerie, like the moment after a storm where everything is finally still, but you just know something worse is forming behind the clouds. And I was right, because Lena didn't go quietly. She went nuclear. The first wave hit Monday afternoon. She started blowing up my phone with messages like, "We need to talk like adults. You misunderstood what I meant. You can't just throw me out. You'll regret losing me." When I didn't respond, her friends joined in. People who had laughed at her backup plan line like it was genius. They sent long messages about how I overreacted, how women say stupid things when drinking, and how I shouldn't throw away a year and a half over one comment. But it wasn't one comment. It was the truth slipping out. I blocked them all. Then, Tuesday, a message popped up from Emily, a woman from my office I'd always had easy chemistry with. Someone I'd honestly tried to avoid thinking about because I was loyal. Too loyal, apparently. Her message was simple. Random question. Would you ever want to grab dinner with me? I stared at it for a long time. My heart hadn't felt anything warm in months before that moment. I typed back, how about tonight? Dinner with Emily was nothing like the tense performances I'd gotten used to with Lena. No weird pauses. No checking her phone under the table. No sense that I was being measured against someone else. Emily looked at me like I mattered in the present, not in some hypothetical future where an ex might return. We closed the restaurant. She reached for my hand as we walked back to the car. I didn't pull away. When I got home that night, Lena's messages had shifted from anger to full-blown meltdown. You can't just throw me out. I left everything for you. We can fix this. Please. Then the tone turned sharp. You're being insane. You can't do this to me. I'll come by tomorrow and we can talk like adults. That last one made me laugh. There was nothing left to talk about. Wednesday came, the deadline I gave her to collect her things. I took a half day off work to be there, expecting drama but not prepared for the level she arrived with. She showed up with her mother. The older woman shoved her foot in the door the moment I cracked it open with the chain still on. "You can't just kick my daughter out like this," she snapped. "She lives here." "No," I said. "She stayed here as my guest." And that ended Sunday. Lena started crying instantly, the performance tears, the ones that fall fast but never reach the neck. "I didn't mean what I said," she whispered. "You know how girls talk." "You said exactly what you meant," I replied. "You just didn't mean for me to hear." Her mother joined in again, louder this time. "She gave up her apartment for you." "No," I said. "Her lease ended." This was convenient. "There's a difference." I unhooked the chain and swung the door open. 5 boxes, 2 suitcases, clothes on hangers. Everything she owned fit neatly into the corner of the hallway, exactly as small as her commitment had been. "Take your things," I said, "and go." And that's when I saw it, the first crack in her mask. A quick, sharp flash of something dark. Calculating. Not sadness. Not regret. Something colder. Something that told me this woman wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Lena and her mother were halfway through loading the last box when the first real twist dropped. One that made the backup plan comment look like a warm-up. It started with something small. She glanced past me into my condo, scanning the living room like she was checking to see whether something was missing. Not something she owned. Something she expected me to lose. "Where's the bookshelf?" she asked suddenly. "In my living room," I said flatly. She folded her arms. "We bought that together." "No," I said. "I bought it. I have the receipts." Her mother huffed. "This is ridiculous. You're punishing her. You're taking everything away." I almost laughed. She didn't lose anything. She just didn't get to keep what she never earned. Lena's face twisted. Not sad, not angry. Somewhere in between. Like she was trying on different emotions to see which one might reopen the door. But then something slipped. She said quietly, almost annoyed, "This is why Mark and I always worked better. He didn't freak out over nothing." Just like that, Mark dropped into the room like he belonged there. She froze a second too late. I saw the realization hit her. She hadn't meant to say his name out loud. Her mother immediately cut in, desperate to cover the slip. "She didn't mean that." "No," I said. "Let her finish." Lena swallowed hard. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," I said. "How long?" Her eyes darted to the floor. "Lena, how long?" She whispered it. "Since March. 8 months. 8 months of lying while sleeping next to me. 8 months of choosing another man while letting me believe I was building a life with her." I felt something inside me go silent. Not break, just switch off. "And he's moving back?" I asked. She hesitated. That was all the answer I needed. "Yes," she finally said. "In a few weeks." Her mother tried to take her arm. "Don't say anything else." "No," I said. "Let her keep going. Clearly she has a whole script ready." Lena's eyes flashed again. Anger this time, sharp and personal. "You ruined everything," she spat. I stepped back like she'd shoved me. "I ruined everything? If you just waited until after he moved back so I could figure things out." I couldn't even respond. I had never heard someone expose their own selfishness so cleanly. Her mother looked appalled. Not at her daughter, but at me. She needed time. She needed options. There it was. The twisted logic laid out plainly. I wasn't a partner. I wasn't a person. I was Plan B with a mortgage. Lena took a shaky breath and said the most honest thing she'd said in months. "I didn't want to lose you before I knew whether he wanted me back. Not whether she wanted him. Whether he wanted her." That was the moment the full truth hit me. She had never loved me. She had loved having a fallback. I stepped aside and pointed at the last box. "Take your things. All of them. And get out." She dragged the final suitcase down the hallway in silence, her mother muttering curses under her breath. At the doorway, Lena turned back. Her voice was quiet, but cold. You're going to regret this. You have no idea what I'm capable of. She wasn't crying anymore. And suddenly I understood why. Because she hadn't lost me. She'd lost control. After Lena hauled the last box down the hallway and the elevator doors snapped shut, the condo went dead quiet. Not peaceful quiet, strategic quiet. The kind of quiet you get right before a problem comes back bigger, louder, and meaner than before. And I knew Lena. She wasn't going to disappear. She was going to retaliate. So I did something I almost never do. I planned for war. The first thing I did was sit down with a notebook and document everything I'd heard, seen, and learned. Dates, times, exact quotes, her threat on the doorstep, every text she'd sent. I wrote it all out until my hand cramped. Not because I wanted revenge. Because with people like Lena, evidence isn't paranoia, it's insurance. Next, I opened my laptop and pulled up my accounts again. I checked every login, every shared device, every backup password, every app she could possibly still have access to. She had used my Netflix, my Spotify, my calendar, my damn grocery rewards card. I changed every password to something long and aggressive, the digital equivalent of slamming the door and bolting it shut. Then I walked through the condo like I was inspecting a crime scene, looking for anything she could claim was hers. Not because I was worried, because I knew she'd try. When I finally sat down, the sunlight had shifted. The living room was darker, stretched thin by the late afternoon shadows crawling across the walls. That's when my phone buzzed. A new message. Not from Lena. From Emily. Hope your day is okay. Thinking about you. It was the first soft moment I'd felt in days, and it almost knocked the air out of me. I hadn't realized how tense I'd been. Jaw locked, shoulders tight, brain spinning in high alert. Her message grounded me, gave me something steady to hold on to. But I also knew this wasn't the moment to get distracted. Emily was good. But Lena was unpredictable. And she didn't disappoint. That night, at 10:47 p.m., my doorbell camera lit up with motion. I checked the feed, expecting her to be standing there with more tears or screams. Instead, she was pacing my porch, talking on the phone. Fast, intense. Her voice sharp even through the speaker. He doesn't get to do this to me. I'm not starting over. I'm not losing everything because he heard one thing out of context. Another pause. No, I don't care. I'll figure something out. I'm not letting him walk away clean. Then she said it. He has no idea what's coming. My blood went cold. She wasn't grieving. She was plotting. She finally left, but she wasn't gone 20 minutes before I began making a list. My retaliation plan, though it wasn't revenge yet. It was protection. 1. Call a locksmith and schedule a lock change. Done for the next afternoon. 2. Notify my building security desk not to let her inside. Logged and confirmed. 3. Save every text, voicemail, and doorbell clip. Already in a folder labeled Lena Documentation. 4. Talk to someone legally just in case. Planned for Friday. And the last step, the hardest but the most important. 5. Don't let her narrative get ahead of the truth. Because someone like Lena, she wasn't going to cry in silence. She was going to burn down the world and stand in the ashes pretending she was the victim. And if I didn't prepare myself, she would drag me down with her. By Friday morning, I thought I had a handle on everything. I had the locks changed. I had the texts saved. I had the condo secure. I'd even felt calm enough to grab breakfast before work. But peace around someone like Lena is never real. It's bait. And the second twist hit harder than anything she'd said at brunch. It started when my boss called me into his office, early, before anyone else was even at their desks. He shut the door gently, but the look on his face told me something was very, very wrong. "Jake," he said, "I got an email about you last night." I felt my chest tighten. "From who?" "Anonymous Gmail. Claimed you were unstable, harassing your ex, creating a hostile environment for women. Suggesting we should be aware of you." My stomach dropped. Not shocked, just furious. Because I knew exactly whose hands were on that keyboard. My boss slid the printed email across the desk. I didn't even need to read it. The tone was unmistakable. The weaponized victimhood. The vague, manipulative language. It was Lena's voice, dressed up in fake concern. I figured it was garbage, my boss said. But I had to ask. I pulled out everything. Screenshots, voicemails, doorbell footage of her trespassing. The text about trying to take my dog. The recording from the night she stood on my porch threatening retaliation. He read through it all slowly. Then he leaned back. Jesus Christ, he muttered. She's unhinged. And then he said something that made everything snap into place. We got 2 more emails this morning, sent to 3 executives. So Lena wasn't just trying to ruin my job. She was trying to ruin my career. That was the twist. It wasn't about the relationship anymore. It was about power. About punishing me for ending her little safety net fantasy before she could replace me. When I left my boss's office, I was shaking. Not from fear, but from adrenaline. I walked straight to my car, drove across the business park, and marched into the lobby of her company. The receptionist stiffened the moment she saw me. She must have recognized my name. I need to speak with HR, I said. Her eyes widened, but she made the call. The HR manager, clean professional suit, hair pulled back tight, brought me into her office, shut the door and said, "We've heard some things. Please, tell me what's going on." So I laid it all out again. The trespassing, the threats, the attempt to take my dog, the anonymous emails to my employer, the recording from my porch, everything. She went pale. "This is extremely serious," she said. "Using company devices or time to harass someone is a major violation." "I'm not trying to get her fired," I said. "I just want a record." She crossed a line. But the HR manager had already started a folder, already writing notes, already taking it more seriously than Lena ever took me. When I walked out, the air felt different, sharper, colder, like a shift in the balance of power had just happened. And then, as if on cue, the next shock dropped. A notification from my doorbell app. Lena, again, this time with her mother, standing on my porch demanding to pick up her dog, pounding on the door like they were ready to break it down. My dog barked so hard I thought she'd hurt herself. That was it. I called the police. They left before the officers arrived, but the officer took a full report, told me to save all texts, told me I might need a restraining order. And that's when the second twist became brutally clear. Lena wasn't just lashing out. She wasn't just hurt. She wasn't confused. She was orchestrating a full-blown smear campaign to destroy my job, my home, and even my dog, because she had lost control of me. I used to think the worst pain in breakups came from not being enough for someone. But the real pain, it comes when you find out they never saw you as a person at all. The truth about Lena didn't come from her. It came from someone who had nothing to gain by telling me. One of her former friends, someone who'd been at that brunch table but had stayed unusually silent the whole time. She messaged me late one night, her tone hesitant, like she wasn't sure if she was crossing a line. "Jake, you need to know something." I almost ignored it. My life was already overflowing with drama, but something about the timing. Right after Lena's attempt to take my dog, right after the HR complaints, right after the anonymous emails, made me open it. She told me everything. Lena had been setting this up for months. Not the breakup, not the cheating, the collapse. "Lena always keeps a backup," the friend wrote. She learned that from her mom. They both hate the idea of being alone or struggling. They always need someone paying the bills while they chase the person they really want. I stared at the message so long I lost track of time. The friend continued. "She talked about you like you were a placeholder, a temporary investment." Her words. She said you were stable, reliable, predictable, that she could live with you, let you cover the hard stuff, and save her money while waiting to see if Mark was serious. A temporary investment, not a partner, not a boyfriend, not someone she loved, a resource. And when Mark said he might move back to Savannah, she decided to secure her position, just in case he didn't. That's when she moved into your condo. My stomach dropped. It wasn't convenience. It wasn't love. It was strategy. The friend kept going, each message cutting deeper than the last. She thought you'd never leave. She said men like you don't walk away from someone like her. She believed she could use you until she wasn't scared of being alone anymore. And then the part that explained everything. When you left her at brunch, it humiliated her. She told us she wasn't angry about losing you. She was angry about losing control. You embarrassed her publicly. That's why she's attacking your job. That's why she's going after your dog. She needs to win. It's not about love. It never was. The reason she went nuclear wasn't heartbreak. It was ego. It was entitlement. It was the cold, bitter rage of someone who believed people existed to serve her until she was done with them. And her mother? Same mindset. Passed down like a family recipe. They didn't see people, they saw positions. Boyfriend equals provider, X equals prize, friends equals audience, me equals insurance policy, dog equals leverage, job equals vulnerability, reputation equals weapon. And when I walked away before she could replace me with Mark, I disrupted her entire system. That's when I realized something chilling. Lena didn't love Mark either. She loved the power of choosing between men who wanted her. She loved the safety net, the attention, the leverage, the ability to discard someone without consequences. When I took that from her, she didn't just lose a boyfriend, she lost her sense of superiority. And people like her, they don't grieve, they retaliate. Cliffhanger. And that's exactly why the final part, my revenge, didn't just stop her. It ended the entire game she'd built her life around. The thing about revenge is that people expect it to be loud, explosive, a showdown in the street or a screaming match on someone's porch. But real revenge, the kind that lasts, the kind that ends things, looks nothing like that. Real revenge is quiet, measured, documented, and most importantly, legal. By the time I met with the attorney, I had everything lined up. The doorbell footage, the police report, the screenshots, the anonymous work emails, the texts about stealing my dog, the recording of her threatening me on the porch. I handed over a folder so thick the lawyer raised an eyebrow. You documented better than most professionals, she said. This is airtight. I didn't feel proud. I felt tired. What do? I asked. She tapped her pen thoughtfully. You don't sue her, not yet. You send a cease and desist. You warn her that any further harassment, personal or professional, will turn into a restraining order and a civil suit for defamation. So no nuclear options? She smiled. A cease and desist is a nuclear option. It tells her you're done playing. I paid the fee. She drafted the letter. It went out certified mail. Lena had to sign for it herself. And from the moment her signature hit that green card, everything changed. The next blow didn't come from me. It came from the companies, mine and hers. Because Lena didn't know that the IT director at my job had traced one of the anonymous emails back to a coffee shop at the exact time she'd posted an Instagram story from that same location. That mistake was catastrophic for her. My company's lawyers sent her a formal notice. Cease the false claims or face a lawsuit. Then her own company finished their HR investigation. She wasn't fired, not yet, but she was placed on a performance improvement plan, which in corporate language means, we're building a file to get rid of you legally. Her reputation at work? Shredded. Her credibility? Gone. The friends who once praised her at brunch? They backed away, fast. She became a warning story whispered in break rooms. Meanwhile, my life grew lighter. Emily and I kept seeing each other. No games. No second choice energy. No hidden exes waiting in the wings. She moved into my condo after a few months. Not because she needed somewhere to stay, but because she wanted to build something with me. One night while we were cooking dinner, she paused, leaned against the counter and said, "Thank you for choosing yourself first. It's the only reason we're here." It hit me harder than I expected, because she saw it. All of it. The pain, the humiliation, the refusal to settle. And she chose me anyway. My dog adored her, which sealed the deal. As for Lena, her big romantic fantasy, the return of her Seattle ex, Mark, collapsed immediately. He broke up with her 3 days after he moved back. She tried posting vague, dramatic breakup quotes online. This time, the comments weren't sympathetic. Her pattern had finally become visible to everyone. She ended up alone, facing job consequences, facing legal consequences, facing herself. None of it required me to yell or fight or become someone I wasn't. All I did was walk away with dignity and let truth do the rest. In the end, the revenge wasn't the cease and desist or HR or the police report or the destroyed smear campaign. The revenge was simple. She lost her backup plan. I found someone who chooses me first, every day, without hesitation, and that's the kind of ending you don't come back from. Turns out, being nobody's backup was the best upgrade of my life.